And a good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Issues and Attitudes. My name is Jeff Owens, interim manager at WEIU. Today we're going to be talking EIU Panther Football. EIU head football coach Adam Cushing is in here. Thank you, Coach.
Appreciate you having me, Jeff. Great to see you.
Thank you. You too, buddy. I know it's trying to be really, really busy and lots of stuff going on, not just here, but everywhere when you're talking about school and football. So I guess we'll just start off with EIU football right now. What's happening, and give us an update where we're at right now over there at O'Brien.
Yeah, we got the players back on campus last weekend, and excited to have them out there on the football field and actually working out and preparing their bodies. And obviously with as long a layoff as we had, we've done a great job of really we're going to ramp them up slowly and follow the national guidance, but just to see the guys be back near each other and excited to be back working has been really fun.
Now, what are the rules right now in your workouts? I mean, is it 6 feet separation and not a lot of contact, just kind of getting them so-called back in shape or in shape?
That's exactly right. 6 feet of separation, masks on as they're inside in the weight room, and lots of precautions being taken, sanitizing the equipment constantly, making sure that we're gloved so that there's not contact to contact. And then, we're at this point, there is no, standing in front of another individual for any sort of football simulation activities. So we're maintaining distancing, we're maintaining masks, but we're also pushing them, and they're excited to be pushed.
Now, can you use the football? I know that's been a thing in high school that you can't actually use footballs at these workouts.
No football. Actually, next Monday morning we get to have walkthroughs with footballs,
right.
And again, walkthroughs, no sweating. Tell that to an old lineman, right?
Yeah,
but,
right.
But we'll see.
On a serious note, now with the testing, and I know we can't get into details, but what is the plan for EIU football in terms of how many times they're going to be tested? And as we get towards the season, take us through what will happen.
Yeah, we had all the young men test before they came back, and then the test when they arrived, to make sure that we're constantly maintaining a safe and healthy environment. That's the number one goal, is health and safety for everybody involved in Eastern Illinois football. And so we're going to constantly test them throughout the season. The NCAA just released their guidelines last week, which is really, really positive. A big step to say this is how we're going to, move forward. We're going to test every week, 72 hours before the game, etc. So it's going to be a great way to make sure that we're lining up across from somebody, but healthy and safe.
Did you ever think in your football career and coaching that it would come to this? Because this is an added. I mean, it's your second year, so it's a little better than being your first, but it's just an added pressure that you have to go through all this and get the guys ready.
Well, it's certainly another set of challenges, But I've said to the staff, that's why they call us coach, right? We got to find ways to make it turn into a positive for us, and finding the guys that want to do it right all the time, and then just allowing this to bring us together even closer as a football team.
Are you confident that we'll see football this year, this fall?
Yeah, I think at this point, obviously, you're seeing some conferences delay it until the spring. Our conference has not made any decisions at this point, and then there's a number of conferences in the same boat. And I think all of that is intended to play football, and we're gonna be full speed ahead playing football this fall until somebody tells us different. I mean, we're not ignorant of the national landscape, but at the same point, I think where we are here and with the resources that we have, with the support we have with the administration, I'm really excited about the opportunity.
Student athletes during a game, if they want to wear a mask, is that okay, or has that been addressed yet and talked about?
We're working through all those things. Yeah, they're welcome to wear their mask anytime they want, certainly, and then we're going to have other ways. There's companies coming up with solutions to attach to the helmet, splash guards, those type of things, and making sure that when we're on the sideline and not with the helmet on, that we can pull the mask up and all that kind of stuff.
Will you keep as many people on the sidelines? I know in past there's 90 roster. Is everybody going to be there? Will you have to spread them out, or how will that work?
We're working through that right now, as a matter of fact. We'll see reduction on the sideline. Our roster will make it to 110, which is this year, which is a great deal. But certainly, and then the NCAA and the conference and everybody's talking about extending the box that the players are normally allowed to only be to the 25. We'll probably gain some more yardage there to maintain spacing and more benches, that kind of thing.
Yeah, travel squad possibly less on the travel. I just don't.
I think right now we're talking about travel squad maintaining the same number at least at this point. That was the discussion. But then I think the home team and the away team just observing the same travel squad.
Okay. Let's talk some actual football now. Good news, right before we went on air today, about 11 o'clock this morning, Isaiah Hill, a wide receiver, and Darius Johnson, linebacker, first team preseason All OVC. And when those All OVCs comes out, it made me feel good. It's like, hey, there's a sign. We're going to have some football. Talk about those two guys and what they mean to the team and to be on that preseason OVC team.
Yeah, well, obviously, when you look at that entire team, man, that is an incredible honor to be part of, right? Because there's some unbelievable football players on that list on offense and defense. So just being part of that is an incredible honor. Isaiah has obviously came out in his first year with us last year, and when he was able to step out on the field about game 5 or whatever that ended up being, just kind of set the league on fire. He did a phenomenal job, and I think we're going to have a lot of ways to get him the football this year. Creatively, we're going to make sure that our best football player or one of our best football players touches it a lot. And then Darius, I know he was doing it before we showed up here on campus, and Darius has been, really a terror for some backfields, and we're hoping to see that continue out of him. He's doing a great job, and certainly has all of those tools, and can be truly a scary guy.
Is he eligible, you think? Is he a potential Sunday player? I mean, it seems like he's played so well. I mean, I think he'll get a shot, don't you?
Yeah, I certainly think he's got the ability, and then it comes down to what does he do with it this year, you know?
You talked about the guys all coming back and getting in shape. Is everybody healthy and ready to go? I mean, I'm not talking about the COVID stuff. I'm talking about physically. There's no setbacks. Everybody looks good so far.
Yeah. We've obviously been pleasantly surprised with that, and we're following the national guidelines in terms of what type of workload we can put on the young men at this point, but it's pretty obvious that they've been at home working on their own. This is not a group that just showed up and thought that 2 weeks was going to whip them into shape for preseason camp. It's pretty impressive to see what they've been doing, and with a reduced workload, that for the most part it's been pretty easy for them.
And for you being the second year, there are more of what we call Coach Cushing's guys, right? I believe Mr. Moser was just here, said about 80 of the 110 are kind of under your recruit and where you went out and got them. Not to dismiss the other people and the other coaches, but it always makes you feel better when they're your guys, correct? And talk about that if you can.
Yeah, I mean, certainly that's how a program gets built, right? Year by year. There's no such thing as overnight success with that stuff. But at the same point, you talk about those 30 returners that were there before. Their level of buy-in has just been unbelievable. Just been so proud of the senior leadership out of this group, out of their wanting to see the standard that we're upholding and then lead to that, right? The senior leadership has been 180 degrees different this offseason. We're so excited about it.
That's cool. A couple of neat things you guys are doing. Let's talk about some community stuff. I believe Ben Solomon has done this uplifting athletes campaign. Talk about that if you could.
Yeah, this is such a great cause, raising money for rare diseases. And this Uplifting Athletes has been doing this nationally for quite a few years now. And what I think is really special about it, as you mentioned, is Ben Solomon, one of the players, leads this, right? And so we've got, most of the guys back here on campus, but there's still some guys, all over, still at home. But he got us on Zoom the other night and laid it out for everybody. And so it's just 7,000 miles, one way or the other. Walk it, bike it, swim it, roll it, whatever, roller skate it, whatever there is. Just, as a program, we're going to put 7,000 miles together over a 10-day period and just raise money and awareness for, the amount of rare diseases that truly hit our society and quite specifically children most of the time.
Okay. The other thing you did that was pretty cool is with the COVID thing going on, you brought back a Zoom meeting, which who knew what Zoom was 130 days ago? Now it's everywhere. But Sean Payton and Jimmy Garoppolo got to be on there and talk to the team. How cool was that were you watching the guys or were you watching Payton and Garoppolo? How's a coach? What do you do?
Well, first pinching myself, right? I mean, you get on and you get into the coaching profession. Sean Payton more or less sets the standard for consistent excellence over time, right? And so we joked as a coaching staff just how excited we were to have that opportunity. But then, yes, there's a little button on Zoom where you can kind of cycle through faces, right? Because Jimmy and Sean, they were spotlighted. But just watching how locked in they were to hear their message, right? And Sean was very candid about all of his career, about what all the challenges about what it takes to build a culture consistently. Jimmy talked about what he learned from Tom Brady. Say what you want, but got to be considered in the short list for the GOAT at that position, and how he prepares on a daily basis, how he prepares his mind, his body, and just for those guys to hear it, right? And our mantra all along during the quarantine is, what does this make possible, right? Not what does this challenge do to us? What does this make possible? And we flipped it on its head, and we had those guys. We had Mike Shanahan. We had Tim Kelly, who's the offensive coordinator of the Houston Texans, played D-line here. I mean, the list goes on and on and on.
Oh, yeah. Camu and Alexander are still in the league.
And so we had a really impressive list of guys that jumped back on with the team, and we're excited to do it.
Cool. Let's talk a little bit about the season. We're scheduled right now, September 3rd. Home opener this year on the old Thursday night, Indiana State. Sycamores come over. I know that you don't prepare right now, but as you start thinking about that September 3rd, what kind of goes in the coach's mind? We're talking to Adam Cushing today, ISU football coach.
Well, we're excited for the opportunity, and we're doing everything we can to get to that point. We've been, doing our studies on Indiana State this summer and getting our offensive and defensive install to reflect that. Quite frankly, I had a conversation with their head coach not too long ago, just both checking in. Hey, let's make this thing happen. Let's keep pointing in the right direction.
Yep.
Let's keep each other in the loop, right? I mean, in the end, what we want is the opportunity to play football, because what the football season does for young men, right? The way that it pays off in their life after football. And so we're going to be competing our tails off against each other on September 3rd. Kurt has been a good friend for a long time and truly does things the right way. And so we're just excited for the opportunity.
Another game that stands out on the schedule is obviously the Kentucky game. And right now the SEC has not said anything about changing their schedule, knock on wood. How excited is it to go to Kentucky and play the Wildcats?
Yeah, really exciting. That's talk about what Mark has done there. Unbelievable.
He's built that program big time.
Unbelievable job. It's truly, a great model for how you build a culture, and it didn't happen overnight for him, right? They didn't all of a sudden start being consistent. No.
They were a joke, really. I mean, 10, 12 years ago, I'm bad on the time frame, but they were really bad.
That's correct, but he's done it the right way. He's recruited the right people. He's paid attention to character. I've crossed paths with him before, and just spending time with him, he talks about the right things. He's about the right things. It's a great opportunity to compete in an awesome venue, but it's against somebody that's doing it right.
Yep. Another also road game this year at Illinois State, which is, I guess, if we have the interstate rivalry game, that's kind of the one people look to. It's always a fun game. And Illinois State, they've been on the upswing the last few years as well, so that'll be another tough opponent for your Panthers.
Yeah, Mid-American Classic. That's there's no secret that's an important one to the guys in our locker room, man. Our guys are thinking about that one.
Sure. And they're a little mad because they wanted to go to Illinois, and that one got canceled. So I think they'll look forward to Eastern Illinois. So that's always one of the fun ones on the schedule, and you always want to check that out, either radio, TV, or in person. And we don't know about in person yet. I know that's still being worked out as well, right? The limited seating, no tailgating probably. So we would announce what we know, but I don't think we know anything as of now, right?
We're going to follow the governor's guidelines, and what he released was 20% capacity for anything in the state of Illinois, obviously in Phase 4. And so Illinois State and us happen to share the same region, so we're both going to be observing those same guidelines. And so what that looks like, I think is still some details, some dotting I's and crossing T's.
All right, let's get to the OVC then. Expectations. Who do you know is going to be good? And besides us, obviously, but when you think OVC, take us through what you think this year will happen 2020.
Yeah, again, it kind of hits you again when you look at that list that was released this morning. You look at Austin Peay after the run they had in the playoffs, and then
they had 4 or 5 guys on the defensive team, right? So they're going to be tough to score against.
They're going to be good. Jacksonville State, obviously, as well. Then you talk about there's a few teams, SEMO, that made the playoffs as well. That's going to be really consistent. You got Bailey Fisher back at Tennessee Tech that had an incredible year at quarterback for them. Tennessee State's got a number of returning pieces, few up front that are going to be really, really good. So I think once again what you're going to see is some really good competition from top to bottom, quite frankly, and then just really you're going to see every week everybody has an opportunity to beat everybody else.
I don't want to always stay on the COVID, but obviously that's one of the big things as we talk about football for the fall. What about your players' parents? Have they reached out to you and voiced concern, or what do they voice to you and talk about, hey, here's my son, take care of him, but when it's COVID, what else happens?
Yeah, you know what? We about 3 weeks ago now, I had a Zoom for the parents, and just said, hey, I want to get on here. I want to answer every question. First of all, present here's what our plan is, right? So that that we're not just flying by the seat of our pants here, right? We actually do have a plan to how we're going to onboard, how we're going to stay healthy and safe day to day. And then, answer questions. And, what I thought, it was probably naive of me, but I thought it would be an hour or so, ended up being about 2.5 hours long of just, let's answer them all, right?
Yeah.
And then they brought up some really good points of things that maybe there was a detail here or there that I thought, you know what, we better make sure that's covered. And so I think it's been really productive. I think the open lines of communication have been phenomenal. And we joke all the time, sometimes you can't count on 18 to 22-year-olds to communicate everything exactly the way it's supposed to be. So getting directly to them, I think, really helped us have this big group of guys that came back to campus.
I can see where this builds team camaraderie because it's another opponent that's out there that you have to overcome before you play the team that's lining up across from you. With that being said, what are the players asking it when they're not talking football and X's and O's? When they go, Coach, I'm worried about this, or I'm not worried about this. Take us to it. If you have an example, I hate to throw you on the spot, but what are the players asking you?
Yeah, you know what? They have really really good questions too, right? And some of it, again, it says coach before our name, right? And it is our job to coach, and it's not just limited to the football field. It's all of it, right? And so you also look around the country at different states have different levels of restrictions and guidelines and different levels of buy-in. And so it's been a process to have everybody come back here to Eastern and make sure, listen, the most important thing we do is protect the Eastern Illinois University football program and the Eastern Illinois community and the Charleston community. And so let's do all these things. And sometimes there is some productive back and forth. And how are we doing this? And what does this mean? And I know more about contact tracing and virus and all that I ever thought I would, but educating them on why that becomes so important to allow our football season to move forward.
You just made me think of something. The OVC's obviously spread out, 4 or 5 states. So does that affect travel when you go? Are there different rules in different states right now, or how does that play? Have you even thought about that?
Certainly, there are different rules for different states. I think what's going to be most important is as I mentioned earlier, the NCAA released and said that these are the non-negotiables. In order for football to happen, the school that play one another have to have this. There's a set of standards nationally. Now, I believe because they have done that, now our conference and every conference around can set their own level of mandates, and then there's everything's going to be at least what the NCAA says, and then the expectation is that then when you get to a more local level, you can even create more specific guidelines for our conference.
Good question. I have to talk about it is EIU, whatever, one of the quarterback capitals of the football going into the season. I know coaches hate this question, but I have to ask it or I'd be not the guy that I am. Quarterback for the fall, I mean, you've got competition. I know Woodbury's back. You brought in a junior college transfer from Butler, or I believe Community College. Talk about the quarterback position and what your expectations are for the fall.
Well, you said it, right? Quarterback position here at Eastern it's marquee, but that is everywhere, right? If you got a quarterback, you got a shot. I think what's obviously with Harry back and his experience for the last few years and his leadership, right? I think is important. And so we're expecting big things out of Harry. I think you just mentioned Stephen Frank.
Yeah, I couldn't think of his name. I apologize.
And he has come in and proved himself to be one of the hardest, if not the hardest worker on the team as well. And so all of a sudden now you have this incredible problem of they're both really good, they're both really competitive. And I think the most significant part of all of it is that the two of them are thick as thieves. They're great friends. Harry has taken Stephen under his wing and said, here's how it all works. Here's how the offense works. They were both coming off of, little things here and there. So they were going to the training room at the same time. Back, January through March while we were still here on campus, all those little things. And so that is what makes us most excited about the season, because they're not selfish leaders. They're selfless leaders that don't care. They just want to see the Panthers win.
Yeah. And you
So
probably need two.
shot.
Yeah, and you probably need two quarterbacks. I mean, most teams during the year, somebody's going to sprain an ankle.
We played four this past year, so you better have a bunch ready.
Good answer. I joked before the show. I looked at the roster today. You must have 25 wide receivers, Coach. I know you can only play 4 or 5 at a time. So talk about the wide receiver position at EIU. And you got Isaiah Hill. He's going to be on the field. So
Isaiah's going to, as I said, he's going to get his touches. I think everybody forgets about Matt Reyna that unfortunately missed the season this past year, but we expected a lot of things. We saw the offense going through Matt last year, so all of a sudden you got Matt and Isaiah that complement each other. We've got a transfer that just is coming over from Big Ten school as well, and so we got an opportunity, and that's where at some point you just say, we just want to keep making our program better. And what you find with receivers and DBs and linebackers, those guys also become the best special teams players on your team. You look at a guy like Dylan Hughes that started games for us at the end of the season as a true freshman at receiver, because he spent the first half of the season being a great special teams player and kind of earned that trust of the coaches. And then, you get some and you earn a little bit more, right? And that's what Dylan did. And so all of a sudden we truly have this incredibly deep position with guys with multiple skill sets, so we're going to have a lot of flexibility. I know Coach Kuz over there, our offense coordinator, is licking his chops with what those guys can do.
Let's talk about your offensive style with Coach K. When you look at that, I mean, is it similar to last year or the upgrade, or what do you think will look like in the Panther offense this year?
Yeah, I think what our number one goal on offense is players, formations, plays, and so let's not be so rigid that we've got to do this or we've got to do that. Who do we got? Who's really good at football? Who's going to do something, right? We talk about it all the time, right? Coaching can be overrated. Let's get a guy the ball that's going to make guys miss, and then all of a sudden, hey, great coaching. No, it was just throw it to that guy, right? Hand it to that guy. So I think what we have this year is a lot more weapons at our disposal, right? And some guys that were true freshmen, Jalen Benefield out of the backfield that ran the ball, and then we could split them out and do all these different things. So it's what it's allowed, and I've seen it already in the last couple of weeks as we've been game planning for our first few opponents, is just some more flexibility to say, you know what, we can do this to take advantage of him, not them, him. Yep. And now we get to focus only on the Panthers. Man, that life's really, really good.
There you go. Now let's turn on the other side on defense. I mean, obviously Darius will be your leader out there at linebacker for the 7th straight year. But I mean, talk about the other 10, 12 guys that are going to be out there with him and what the defense will look like. They were top 30 in the FCS this year.
Yeah,
or last year.
Jump. Chris Bauer's defense coordinator did a phenomenal job of something similar, right? Just keeping it basic, right? Let's be sound. Let's run to the ball. Let's tackle, and every now and then let's get the ball back, right? Yeah. And so, but I think what we did was those things, and you see the upperclassmen. There were more upperclassmen on that defense last year, and the cool part is we have a bunch of them back still. They were juniors. Yeah. Darius, Mark Williams is a guy that stands out at corner. Ray Crittenden has another year at linebacker. Isaiah Gully coming back for us. We're maybe a little bit younger up front. But our back half should be good. Marcus Bourne-Slater at safety, Bryce Dewberry at safety. I mean, and what you start listing out all these guys, and all of a sudden, you get to the point where I'm listing more than we can start.
Yeah, which is safety's another one of your deep positions. You got
and we have a bunch. Yeah, we brought in a bunch of guys. We want to have more flexibility back there because we have guys there with really cool skill sets to make it challenging for an offense, and so. I'm really excited about it. I think it comes from the player leadership on that side as much as anything else. There's good players, but they're embracing of if we run to the ball and tackle, it really doesn't matter what we play. Call Coach Bowers, I don't care what you call, man. We're going to run to the ball and we're going to tackle.
Yeah, because when the 11 guys are out there on defense, I mean, that's what it comes down to. But no matter what the formation, you got to go get the ball or stop the ball.
Period.
I mean, that's where people always say, we got all these schemes. Well, it doesn't matter because you want that Brown thing. And you want that ball. I know you don't like to be asked. I assume this, but what about your goals? Do you set goals now, or do you kind of wait till we get closer to the season as you think about goals for 2020?
You're right. That I think the goal for 2020. I'll make sure that we have each other's cell number in 2035. You can tell me if I'll be able to tell you if it's a successful season, right? Are we prepared for life after football, right? Did we respond to adversity the right way? Did we prepare consistently? And that's what we're really thinking here is, are we focusing on what's most important right in front of us, giving our best, right? And we've kind of adopted this passion, attitude, investment, and discipline. PAID, paid, passion, attitude, investment, and discipline. If we give our best, passion, attitude, investment, with discipline for each other, and that's where I think we've made the biggest stride, is the embracing of sacrifice for one another, right? Our connection to one another. It was our number one goal of our off season. So goals, show up and give our best for each other. And then we'll figure the rest of it out, because I think you go farther than that and you will lose sight of what's important now right in front of you.
There you go. Good answer, Coach. I knew you'd have a good one for it. A couple minutes left. Anything else on the coaching staff from a couple of changes, but talk about anything you want to talk about for coaches.
Yeah, a couple of changes. Excited about the passion and energy and experience that those guys have brought to us with Justin Manning and Cliff Odom on the defense side of the ball. Lost a couple of great coaches. Great friends, but you always look at it as an opportunity. How do we get better, right? How do we take a step forward? And I think just all of us being here together in the second year, and us connecting to the players a little bit better, and having more understanding of where we're both coming from, and that we're going to hold a hard line. We're going to hold a high standard. And then we're going to go after anything below that standard, right? And we're going to be really consistent about it, but it's because we love them and want them to be the best they could possibly be in 2035 as great human beings, husbands, fathers, all that stuff. So this coaching staff, honestly, is just a joy to be around on a daily basis, because they all care for the players first and foremost, and it's non-negotiable.
One other question. I didn't read the NCAA, all the changes. Will the officiating on the sidelines, are they going to push people back, or how's it going to be to kind of, there's always that conglomeration of people. Is it going to be the same, or have they made changes? Do you know?
The goal, well, I mean, I think that there's reality and the rules. I mean, the reality is that everyone crowds up when they're not supposed to anyway,
yeah.
Right? So if we could just go about and actually abide by the rules, and you're looking at one of the worst offenders of sometimes I sneak out onto the field here and there, but
I understand completely,
sir. But I think that, honestly, I don't know that a lot has to change there if we can control our players, right? I think the officials are supposed to have their space to work as it is. If we control our players, and that's what we're trying to have all our focus on anyway. What can we do? All we can control is the EIU sideline, the Panthers, etc., no matter what topic we're talking about. So if we focus on us, I think the rest of it will take care of itself.
We're about out of time, but I have to ask you one fun question. In the NFC, Saints or Niners?
Oh, jeez, that's a tough one. Man.
We got a winner either way, but if you had to pick
one. Well, boy, oh boy, I guess... I guess Saints, but man, I don't know if I don't know if I die on that hill. I think maybe if the Niners win, I'll probably be excited too.
There you go. Thanks, Coach, for being here today. I appreciate it so much. EIU football, September 3rd. We start.
Thanks so much, Jeff. Go Panthers.